Hi, I'm Chelsea Hewsome, your host of the Lip Service and Lashes podcast. I'm an entrepreneur, author, speaker, and mom of two. And I'm so tired of women not feeling like they can show up as fully expressed versions of themselves. So here, we're all about that unapologetically, because honestly, we don't have time not to. Literally, because we're busy as F moms and entrepreneurs, but also figuratively, because we don't know how much time we have on this planet, and we want to make an impact now. But if we're doing this, we're making it real vibes only. So let's get inspired, laugh our asses off, quite possibly cry, and feel like you're sitting on the couch with your bestie and a glass of wine. I'm so happy you're here. Let's dive in. Hello, everyone, and welcome to another Lip Service and Lashes podcast. I'm your host, Chelsea Hewsome. You guys, today I have my friend Andrea Janzen with me. Hello, Andrea.
Hi, Chelsea. Thanks for having me.
I am so excited you're here, girl. All right, guys, Andrea is the founder and CEO of Ambition Theory, where she helps companies across North America close leadership gaps by developing high potential talent, especially women, in the built environment. She's also the creator of the Leadership Accelerator and leads the Building Better Research with NCCER, shaping the future of leadership in construction. So we got a fellow woman in construction. Yes. So glad you're here, girl. So let's just jump right in because you need to tell everyone, how did you get into construction? Because I know you get that question a lot, probably as I do. So how did you end up in construction?
Okay, so I know you didn't, dream as a little girl of being into construction. I don't think you did.
What?
You didn't dream.
No, I didn't.
No, it wasn't like a thing that we were encouraged to do. And I like to tell people construction chose me. I did not
That's
choose
a good way of putting it, actually.
this industry. And so I started actually my career in marketing and consumer products. So I actually had really cool jobs. I was a brand manager for the candy Werther's Original. I also spent some time as a brand manager for Absolute Vodka. I worked in the nonprofit sector for a while. But what's interesting is I always had this desire to be an entrepreneur. Like I remember as a child doing school projects about business.
Really?
I studied business in university.
Cool.
I took entrepreneurship classes. I did these like business plans for like hypothetical businesses. But really everybody around me was like, get a job. Like that's what I was always encouraged to do, have a career. And I was actually really good at finding jobs. So I always would, start a job. I would like it. I'd always look for more. And this is a sign. I look at my LinkedIn now and I'm like, I was meant to be an entrepreneur. The longest I worked anywhere was 3 years. And I would get bored. I want something else, or I'd want like that next level. And I didn't really like waiting around for it. So I'd be like, okay, I'll just find a new job. So I was really good at that. And so I'm Canadian. So I used to live in Canada. So it kind of started when I lived in Canada. And there, the government's very supportive of parents. And so at the time, you would get a full year off when you had a baby supported by the government. And I'm type A personality. So, me sitting home, singing
For a
with
year,
the baby,
you're like, what?
going, right? So I always wanted to do stuff. And so people would come and visit me, like see the baby. And I'd be like, oh, what's going on? They're like, oh, I don't like my job. I want a new job. Can you help me with my resume or whatever? So people would come over, I'd help them. And then word spread. And then people were literally coming over every week. I'm like, okay, hold the baby. I'll do your resume. We'll practice for the interview. And it just became something that I was just doing for friends. And someone said, Andrea, you should make this a business. You're really good at this. And I was like, okay, let me make it a side hustle. So that's kind of how I got into coaching. It started as career coaching, side hustle. But then again, I was really good at getting jobs, right? So then time to go back to work, I'd go back to work. I didn't spend time on growing this business, but I feel like looking back, I realized there was this desire to be an entrepreneur in my heart for many, many years. And it took me a long time to actually go for it. And so eventually I'm like, I'm going to make this my thing. And, I'm not in HR. I'm not a recruiter. I should legitimize myself in this like career coaching space. And so I discovered this coaching program. It was an executive coaching program. coaching's a thing now. This is like 2015. Coaching was not a thing. Like I didn't really
Yeah,
even know
before.
what it
Yeah.
was really at the time. So I went to this executive coaching program. I was like, oh my gosh, coaching is so much more than getting someone that job. It's very transactional, right? Like
Yeah.
just get the job and then that's the rest. So I decide, I'm like, I'm going to start a leadership coaching business. And so I do. I, would do anything. Oh, you want a conflict workshop? Great. Team building workshop? Great. I would just literally do anything for anybody. And that's how it started. And interestingly, I kind of like had this women's program. It was a workshop. It was like a 1 hour workshop called Reignite Your Ambition. So I created that. That was the first kind of thing I created. And I just started kind of talking about it, and people were picking up on it. And people that picked up on it were people in technical roles. So my first client was this group called Women in Aerospace. Then some engineering groups, like a manufacturing company, picked up on it. So this people that work in these technical roles, for some reason, it was landing with them.
Okay.
So that was kind of a sign, right? And then
Yeah.
I got into construction. I didn't actually intentionally go after it. I was just, hustling, trying to get this Reignite Your Ambition workshop off the ground. My husband works in construction, and his company was sending people to this conference in San Francisco called Groundbreaking Women in Construction, put on by Engineering News Record, which is a big industry publication. And he goes, and it wasn't really about me. It was like, oh, look how amazing my company is. Like they're supporting all these women. Look at the place I work at. This is so wonderful. And I'm like, oh, what is this conference? So I go to the website, I look at the speakers, what are the topics? And there was a TBD on the schedule. And I'm like, you know what? I cold called the conference and I asked them, I'm like, do you need a women's leadership speaker? And they said yes. So that's how I learned about construction.
Love
I like
it.
went to this conference, knew nothing about construction, gave a presentation called Reignite Your Ambition, and that's how the industry chose me.
I love that. Okay, I have so many notes. First of all, I do know of that conference. I will be cold calling them soon enough for to speak there as well. And I love that.
Actually, do you want a connection? I will
sure
make
do.
the connection for
I
you.
Sure do, girl. I do. Yes. Okay. We'll do that. But I love, okay, all these. I get bored easily too. I love that. And it's like when you're mentally done, you just have to move on. Do you just really quick, you're like, okay, this has served its purpose. I learned what I needed. Now I got to quickly move on. Yeah. And then, okay, also I love that you took business classes and you wrote business plans. I did not. So I love that you did, because you're like, oh, I'm going to step into entrepreneurship, and I love that you wanted to be it as a child too. Like, so amazing. Those are just random, not questions there, but also my husband is in construction. Do you guys have do you talk way more about construction than you ever wanted to at home? We joke,
I
it's our pillow
do.
talk.
Yeah, and there's things that I know. I'm like, okay, I don't know how I know this, but I do, which is really
you've
interesting.
like absorbed it just from like being around people. You're like, oh yeah, I've absorbed all these different niche things. I love that. And now that we're building a house too, we're like, God, all we ever talk about is construction, whether it's work stuff or building this house. We're like, we got to get a life. All right. So when someone asks you what you do, what do you really mean by leadership in the built environment? And I know, talk a little bit about your sponsorship versus mentorship, because that's really right. Did I use the right words?
Yeah.
Okay. Talk about that, because I've heard you speak numerous times now, and it always lights me up. And I love that this is what you focus on.
Yeah. And so when I talk about leadership in the built environment, it really is about movement. It's moving people up the ranks so that they have more influence and they have the ability to influence decisions, make decisions, and contribute to the direction of their organization. So some people are like, oh, be grateful for the role that you have, lead with where you're at. Yes, this is really important. We want people to do that. But really what we're about is like getting more women into those decision-making roles where they can influence the industry, we can influence their company, and they can actually open those doors for the next generation. So that's we're laser focused on that.
I love that.
Not focused on like be happy in the role that you're at. So we're really focused on advancement. And one thing that we've learned is there's one tool. I have literally been talking about this since 2019. I will stop talking about it when people tell me, Andrea, I've heard it, I know it. Here's my story of how I've used it. And that's still like some people come to me and say, yes, I've learned this from you, Andrea, or I learned this from somebody else, and this is how I'm using it. I don't need to hear it again. That happens like maybe once or twice. So I still talk about mentorship versus sponsorship. It is the one thing that if you want to advance, grow your business or advance within an organization, if you do this, it will give you the most traction. So I'll tell you the difference. So we're all told to get a mentor, right? Like literally, if you want to be successful, I'm sure someone told you that. Right?
Yes. Oh, yes.
And so the difference so mentorship is really like advice based. So it is that experienced person, either in your company, in the industry, someone that's kind of a couple steps ahead of you, sharing their story, giving you wisdom, giving you advice. It's good to hear stories. It's good to have advice. It's good to, know that person that's gone before you. But if you think about that, at the end of the day, you're hearing the advice, you're hearing the story, and it's like, what do I do with this information? Yeah. And it's like, oh, it's on you as the person who's still trying to figure it out to find how you can implement this, to find the opportunity to use the advice to get ahead. And so that's a traditional mentoring relationship. And what's interesting is men and women are mentored differently. And this is research-based. We have done this research with NCCER. Other people have studied this in other industries. So this is a real thing. It's not my opinion. Women are typically mentored. So that's how it shows up for women. Men, on the other hand, are treated differently. They're actually sponsored. And this just happens by human behavior. So for men, it's like, oh, I'm going to bring you along, right? Oh, you want to learn about sales? I will bring you to a customer meeting. Oh, and you know what? We got some slides to present. You present 3. And, if you screw up, it's okay. I'm here. I'll step in to make sure the meeting is successful. And so that's sponsorship. So it's giving that opportunity. And what's frustrating is people don't treat men and women differently on purpose, right? It is like how we are socialized. And what's extremely frustrating is that it's good intentions, right? Women are like, oh, I'm going to mentor you. I'm going to tell you how to do it. I'm going to suggest a book to read. I'm going to share my story because I want you to be ready. I want you to be prepared. And when that opportunity arises, I want you to knock it out of the park and I don't want you to fail. And good intentions, but what happens is women actually are over prepared and they're never given that opportunity. And you're like hitting your head against a brick wall. You're like, why am I not advancing? Why can I not? Why is like that story she told me? Why is it so hard for me to implement this? And so if you really shift in this mindset from when I'm looking for help, actually I'm asking for the opportunity. Like, who can you connect me with? Like, for example, you're like, oh, GWIC speaking engagement, right? A mentoring would be like, Chelsea, I spoke at GWIC. You should speak at GWIC.
I believe in you.
I believe in you,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Here's my story. It was great, blah, 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 right? Whereas a sponsorship behavior is, you want to speak at GWIC? Let me find my contact. I will send an email to both of you saying, Chelsea would be a great speaker. Here's her speaker reel. Here's her contact information. Because the amount of time for you to get to that person, like,
you may never
who knows if it's even going to work, right? It's like, oh, truly, there's an application form on the website. Like, good luck with that, Chelsea.
Yeah, it's going to go out into the sea of God only knows how many, right? I love that. It's a perfect example.
And what's interesting, is it okay if I call you out on something?
Yes.
You didn't ask me, right? I was like, I went there. They know me. I went there. I went back again. And I told this story at the conference 2 years ago. You could have asked me. I probably would have said yes, that I would connect. So I think this thing is that we're socialized to not ask for that opportunity, to ask for that advice. And I think that is the thing that if you can change that mindset, amazing opportunities open up for both people that are involved.
Absolutely. Yeah. The first time I heard you say this, I was like, oh my God, yes. And another in my head, my husband always said this word, a champion. Like, look
Mm,
for your champions, that they were like, whatever you need, I will make that connection. I will put you in the room. I will do anything. I'll grab your hand and let's go together. I will make any connection necessary. So it is like having that champion, and it's like you do it naturally, right? And some people do it naturally, where I think we need to learn, especially as women, to kind of ask for it more flat out
yes.
and not be so scared of asking. So why do you think so many high potential women are still getting overlooked? Is it because we're just not asking and we're like trying to be not too nice, and or what do you think?
That that is a loaded
That's an
question.
issue. That's an issue.
I feel like we could make a 5-part series on this, but I will start with a couple. So one
Okay.
is sponsorship over mentorship, right? And here's the thing, we always put it on ourselves, right? Oh, what am I doing wrong? What's actually is like the people that have influence to make those decisions, right? Like, who am I going to give the contract to? Who
Mhm.
am I going to put on the big project? Who am I going to put into that higher level role? That happens those conversations happen when you're not there, right? You're not
Mhm.
involved in that conversation. And I think this default to mentorship, like, I want to prepare her, I want to make sure she's 100% ready, that shows up without people even realizing it.
Mhm.
So we're waiting, right? So men typically, research has proven this is not my opinion, men get promoted based on potential, women experience. So we're looking for her to check 100% of those boxes
Mhm.
before we say in that room that she's not in, I think she's ready. Whereas a guy is like, he could totally do it, he's like 80% there, like, let's do it.
That's so
And so
interesting.
yeah. So it
Wow.
goes both ways. Like, we do it to ourselves, but like, it's just the way society works. So
Society
that's
is. Yeah.
that's one.
Okay.
And then the other concept that, like, we talk about at Ambition Theory all the time is transactional versus transformational leadership. And this is very prevalent in the built environment, but this still happens in other industries, in that we kind of look in kind of like, where transactional leadership is that traditional top down approach where I'm the leader,
Mm.
I have all the answers, I delegate, and I tell people what to do. Transformational leadership is more like, I set the vision and I invite you in to contribute. I may not know the answers, but I know what's going on, and I'm going to invite you in to help me solve the problem or achieve the goal. And what's interesting is kind of like, we've been ingrained that a leader is more transactional. They tell you what to do, they delegate. That is kind of in our minds, like,
Mm.
what leadership looks like. And so people that can collaborate, build trust, inspire, it's not in your mind of like, oh, that's leadership potential. So this is really, it happens without people realizing it. Is like, you're looking for that kind of typical male model of leadership, whereas these skills that women bring. And so research shows women are more transformational, men are more transactional.
Okay.
Doesn't mean women can't be transactional or men can't be transformational, but kind of like the checkbox. Like, what are we looking for? We're looking for assertiveness. We're looking for
Mhm.
giving directions. Is, the checkbox that we look for when, for who gets ahead. Whereas
Yeah.
there's not always a checkbox for can collaborate, can inspire, can build trust. So kind of
It's more subjective.
yeah,
Potentially,
it's more
like, right? Yeah.
subjective. And
Mhm.
so that's another reason why women get overlooked. Like, all of these things can contribute to a team. And actually, what's really interesting is, I love research. I think you know that, but
Yes, you have good research. You really do.
we do research. I read other
It's
people's
amazing.
research. What's really interesting this year, we've kind of expanded to work with men and women. And I love stats. I'm like, why do we need to do this? And so I kind of researched, what does Gen Z care about in the workplace? Because we always
Mm.
hear, oh, they're not motivated, what, they're not loyal, they're like all these, things we
Yeah.
say about the next generation.
Yeah.
The number one retention tool, transformational leadership. So if you invite that next generation in, help them see what their strengths are, and then give them something that's aligned with their strengths, help them see the big picture, invite them in to contribute, help them feel like they have a purpose, they will show up, they will
Yeah.
be loyal, they will go above and beyond. Whereas what's interesting is, I think our generation, the like, suck it up, you got to put your time in, like, that was a
Yeah.
narrative that was acceptable. Whereas Gen Z is like, no, I'm not
This
accepting
is
that.
not okay anymore. Yeah. Which
Like,
kind of is good. Let's just be honest. Yeah.
oh,
Just,
totally.
yeah.
It's fantastic. And so I think there's this exciting opportunity where the models of leadership, it really, there's this opportunity for it to look different, which is really exciting about where we are right now.
I love that. And I literally speak on this in my keynote because like leading with vulnerability and be your humanness and getting to know your people and creating like a psychologically safe environment where people are cared for and trusted, and that's where innovation happens. That's where people stay. They want to come to work. They want to be creative, right? That's the special sauce that the transactional is missing. You have to transform, you have to inspire these people. They have to feel safe. They have to feel like you give a crap about them to show up, and then like you said, they'll be there forever. They will be so invested in that. But they need a feeling, right? More than that. So I love that. All right. So what's one shift leaders could make this week to create stronger teams?
Ooh, that's a good one. So I'm gonna actually share one that I had to do. And
Okay.
this is like, because transformational leadership, people are like, oh, of course I want to inspire people, right? Like, but
Yeah.
that's like a big thing. And I'll talk about actually my own, we're all leaders, we're all on our journey. You never arrive as the leader,
Yeah,
right? We're
for
all
sure.
work in progress. And I'll tell you something that I had to do for myself. Like I own my company, right? I have a
Mhm.
team and I'm a loud person, right? Like I talk a lot. And what's interesting is I was finding that I was dominating our team meetings. Like I would say something and the team would just agree that it was a good idea. And and like sometimes I would say things and it wasn't actually a good idea. But
But
the
they were
team
just
would
agreeing with you.
they were just
Yeah.
agreeing with me. And so I realized I'm like, wow, like that's not transformational leadership. So, what can I do differently? And so, this is a really simple hack. And so, we have a team meeting every week, and we have an agenda, and like each team member gets a time on the agenda. And
Mhm.
what was interesting is I was always going first, and the hack was, go last, Andrea. Like you say your thing last, because what I was realizing is I was missing the ideas, the contributions of these really smart people that work with
Mhm.
me just because I'm that dominant personality. So it's a really great hack is like listen before you speak, because your team members will bring a whole new perspective. They have different experience that you do. They might be smarter than you are in a certain area. And then you're missing out on leveraging that talent if you dominate them. So I think that's a quick hack that you can do kind of right now this week.
I love that. And I'm sorry, this is like I was just in Phoenix recording my keynote, so it's very fresh in my brain. But I literally talk about that, about having, during meetings, rotating who opens, who closes, make sure every single person's speaking, because you might have those quieter people that never would take the initiative to speak up, but like you said, they have brilliant ideas and maybe they just were getting dominated by other more strong personalities. So I love that. That's perfect. That's perfect. And I love that you saw that. You're like, okay. And you're not loud. You're a strong, smart woman. But you know what I mean? And you're very outgoing. But yeah, some people might just are more shy and more reserved, right? But I love that. So because it invites diverse perspectives and it just opens it up to everyone feeling, like they have a part in it. Yes, I love that. Okay. So how you're also a mother, and we've talked before, like juggling all the things. So as you've owned your business and and gone through it, and as our kids are getting older, they're in sports, they're doing all this stuff. Like what are some things that you found that you've had to do, or things that you have found that work really well for you personally to maybe protect your time, your energy, boundaries, whatever? Like what are some things you do to really juggle all this stuff that you're juggling?
Yeah, so I think it's like evolved as the kids' ages have evolved, right? It's a different level of support that your kids need. Like when they're younger, it's really like you need to be physically there to like feed them, change their diaper,
Yeah.
take them places. Like now, like my kids can be home alone. Like the oldest is 13, I have a 13, 11, and an 8-year-old.
Hmm.
Kind of like my time management has evolved. And so what I have where I'm at now, which I think has been a game changer for me, is this idea of like, I don't have meetings on Mondays. Like that is my work day where I get stuff done. And I will say, I heard like protect your time, right? Everyone tells you to do that, right? But actually doing it is not as easy as like all the experts say it is. So I will say
For
it
sure.
probably took me 6 to 8 months to actually protect my time. Because, an important, a company we're going after wants a meeting. They say they're available on Monday, right? And then it's like, oh, Andrea, can you take this? You know what? I want this. I want to get this deal. So I'm going to actually take that meeting. And so I didn't actually follow through with it. But what I've realized is, um, you kind of attract the people. Like people actually respect that, right? They're like, well, how can I run this business if I'm on call all the time and have no boundaries? And what's really interesting from like a coaching perspective, like we are like a high touch service delivery company. And what I realized, I used to put the client first. Oh, the client wants their coaching call at night, right?
Yeah.
And like literally I'm trying to put the kid to bed, like, or I'm in the
Yeah.
car driving to hockey, and I would say yes to the client. And what happens, actually the coaching is not that great because I am distracted. And so
Yeah.
what a great boundary that I was able to put in place from like this high service delivery position that I'm in is really recognizing that like we have times, like, oh, if you're my client, here's a calendar link, book a time whenever that's fine for you. Now I have someone that checks my email for me and manages my calendar for me. So I think that I used to think like, why do I need someone to check my calendar? Like I can book my own meetings, I can check my own email. But that's something I did kind of this past year, was delegate my email, delegate my calendar. And it's it's just freed up this mental space for being able to serve the clients, being able to be on for important things, and being available for my family. But I will say it's like hit or miss. Like sometimes I'll go pick up the kids and I will work on my computer while they're at hockey practice. But I also think understanding, like exposing your kids to entrepreneurship is really something cool as well. Like my kid, this is actually a moment where I was like, oh, are they watching? Are they learning from me? Or am I screwing them
What
up
is their
by kind of,
perception of what I'm doing
what
right
is their
now?
perception? And so interestingly, I think that we're in this age of helicopter parenting where you like parents are really involved in their kids. Like that's our culture.
Yeah.
And I kind of dropped the ball on picking electives. And so I didn't get involved at all. Like my kid just did it at school, whatever. Like he chose whatever. And so
Yeah.
fall happens and he chose speech class, and he chose video class. And he had to make a podcast. He had to learn how to give a speech. I was like, my goodness, like
You're
my
like,
kid is
that's
watching
awesome.
me, and my kid is taking a course that is related to my career. And what was really cool is they needed parents to come in who use public speaking as part of their job. And so I came in as a guest speaker. My son had to introduce me. And a couple
I
weeks
love
later, I
that.
got this manila envelope. It was probably this thick of like letters from the students, like
Oh,
thanking me. And I read them, and it wasn't just like, okay, the teacher put a script on the wall and you have to write it.
yeah.
It was like,
Yeah.
I learned, they actually said they learned things from me.
Oh,
And I thought that was really cool. So even sometimes like maybe I'm a bit scattered, maybe I'm not fully present all the time with my kids, but they can see me build something, they can see me do something really interesting, and then kind of not be embarrassed when their mom comes to their
yeah.
eighth grade class for a
I love
presentation. So
that. I love
that
that.
was a win. But yeah, I feel like the time management, it's a work in process. And I'm like, I think I got it. Then, something else
For sure. Well, it's
comes.
never perfect. I mean, and I think I same as you, like I've grown a lot in the now 6 years of owning my business. At the beginning, I said yes to everything. Now I'm like, nope. But I love that. I've been this year, or at the end of last year, I started like in my paper planner, because I love it, I write CEO on I at least two sometimes 3 days a week of where I just write CEO on there and I circle it. And that's my note to myself to not schedule a meeting, an appointment, and whatever it is, because probably like you, I have all these appointments and meetings I'm running around, and then you don't get anything done that day because you've had like spurts of 20 minutes here and there working, right? So I love that. And I agree. It's so powerful, and it's in order to feel creative and show up rested, sometimes you got to have a whole day to just bust some stuff out. Like, and I love, your kids are our kids. Like, if you're an entrepreneur, our kids are watching us. Sometimes, yes, we get that guilt, like, oh, are they watching? Like, are they judging? Are they like, oh my gosh, mom, it's working again? Or are they like, she's a badass and I'm proud of her. And like you said, she's building something. So it's never perfect, but I think we're showing them, like you said, I'm building something, I'm creating something, and they're proud of you. Obviously, they like how cute that he's taking, these classes in middle school.
I know.
I love that. That's so cool. All right, we have a little time left. I want you to please tell us about your podcast and then your 10,000 Women Leaders Initiative, because those are amazing. You're just doing all the great stuff.
Thank you. So our podcast is called Ambition Theory, Rethinking Leadership in Construction. And it's really about this, literally all of my work, how I learned about the construction industry and the built environment is because I coached women to advance in their leadership and advance in their companies. That's how I learned the industry. And what's interesting is as I learned that, I actually realized and this was 2026 or 2025 learning, all of this is relevant to everybody. And so it's leadership lessons that we learned by helping women thrive in this environment that really was not built for them. And what's interesting, we realized like men aren't really thriving in the industry right now either. And so really looking at leadership, flipping it on its head, and how do we actually teach people to sprinkle in transformational leadership? Not to say that like you can go all the way to the extreme, because construction is transactional. Like you need to build stuff.
You need both. Yes,
you need both. But really the industry is this extreme transactional. That's how they train people. That's what's rewarded. So how do we sprinkle in transformational leadership in a way that works, that's going to lead to growth? So that's what the podcast is about. And 10,000 Women Leaders it's actually, so I read the book, The Science of Scaling, and actually Amanda from my team, she read it first on Spotify as an audiobook. And she's like, Andrea, you have to listen to this. So I had followed the author, Dr. Ben Hardy, for a while. So I listened to it, and literally like I'm taking notes as I'm listening. Amanda did the same thing. We didn't talk about it. We're not like, we're listening to this book and we're each going to take notes and compare notes. We took these notes, and actually Amanda came to the table where she's like, Andrea, we're thinking too small. And so we built Ambition Theory one woman at a time, like one woman here, one woman there. Maybe a company would put 3 women in. And kind of what's been happening is we've been seeing companies kind of put 5 women into our programs. We've had some companies buy an entire cohort. And what we're seeing is the one woman at a time, women, like our stuff works. Women get promoted, they find sponsors, they close deals, they grow in grow their careers, they influence their teams, but is very slow. But what we saw when we had critical mass, it was like they were doing it and they were telling everybody else in their company, and the stories were just like spreading like exponentially faster than the impact of just the one at a time. And so Amanda's like, we got to set a big, audacious goal that scares us. She's like, it started with 1,000. It's like, what if we had 1,000 women take our leadership program? What would that do for the industry? What if we had 1,000 more women making decisions and influencing the direction of their company? What would that do? And it's like, wow, that's huge. That'd be huge for us. That'd be huge. And then I pitched the idea to one of our clients, and they're like, it didn't land at all, right? And they're like, oh, no, this is like you're telling me I have a target, blah, blah, blah. And so I go to a coaching program for entrepreneurs. So I brought it back to them. I was like, this is a good idea. But like I pitched it to this company and they weren't picking up on it. And they were like a client. They were like an early client of ours, like a believer in Ambition Theory. So it was like, like a warm a
You left,
warm
you're like,
feedback
what
person.
happened?
So it was interesting. The feedback that I got from this coaching group was like, Andrea, they're like, how many employees in this company? And I'm like, oh, maybe like 3,000. They're like, Andrea, they thought you meant 1,000 people from their company. You are thinking way too small. And so this idea that like, sometimes you need somebody to actually like see your potential, recognize what you're working on and be like, oh, this has legs. You can think bigger, because we're so just, I think as women, we're just conditioned to be the contributor, like wait for the opportunity, not ask for it. And so that's how it became 10,000 Women Leaders. And this idea that at Ambition Theory, we have this 8-week program. It works. There's a labor shortage in construction. Leaders are retiring. People are burnt out. There's mental health issues. There's all these challenges that a little bit of transformational leadership, it's not going to solve all of them, but it's going to make all of them less hard.
Yeah.
And what we realize is like, we have the vehicle, we have it. We've been testing it. We've had hundreds of people go through it. We know it works. And actually it's an invitation to the industry to help us. It's like, do we want to solve the labor shortage? Do we want people to feel less burnt out? Do we want to replace these leaders that are retiring and get that knowledge into the next generation faster?
Yep.
If yes, help us join. And so we have we have ways for companies to join, individuals to join us, associations to join us. We have all different ways of getting involved, and that's what it is.
So you just needed to think a little bit bigger.
Yeah.
I love that. That's really cool, actually, that's why it didn't land.
Yeah.
Oh, so cool. All right. So how can everyone support you, and where can our listeners connect with you?
Yeah, so they can find me on LinkedIn. So Andrea Janzen, you can find Ambition Theory on LinkedIn, or find our podcast anywhere. It's Ambition Theory, Rethinking Leadership in Construction, and also on our website, ambitiontheory.com.
Awesome. Well, I will put all these in the show notes also, but Andrea is amazing. You can't like hang out with her and not leave and be like so energized. I just love you. Your energy, you're always just positive, bouncing off the wall in the best way. Like so good. You just energize me. So thank you for being you and like dealing and talking about these really important things in the industry. Like it's so needed, and you just always share it so well. So thank you again for coming on. I appreciate you.
Thank you for having me. And Chelsea, I am so grateful you came into my life.
Oh,
I think it was 1.5 years ago, and I appreciate you so much. And I will say your book, they say like, when you need it, the book falls off the shelf. Your book, literally this year, there was a challenging situation for me that I was going through. Your book literally fell off the shelf. I read it, and I'm so grateful that you wrote it, because it has helped me so much grow as a leader and as an entrepreneur and as a mom. So I'm just grateful to have you in my life.
Same. I totally appreciate you. And I appreciate you saying that too. That story, when you told me, I'm like, that's freaking awesome. I just love it. So thank you. Thank you for all you're doing. Keep going. You're light, you're shining an amazing light in the world. So, all right, everybody, thank you for listening. And always remember, no BS, just real vibes. And we'll see you next time. If you loved the episode, share it on Instagram and tag me so I can say thank you and meet you. Or share it with a girlfriend who you know would love this too. Always remember, no BS, just real vibes. See you next time on Lip Service and Lashes.